Welcome to the Empowered Marriage Podcast. My name is Helen Harrison. I'm very happy to be here, and as you can see, I am wearing a mask. For those of you listening to me on Spotify and iTunes, you won't be able to see, but for those of you on YouTube, you'll be able to see I'm wearing a mask. All in theme for today's podcast. So this is podcast 69. Are you hiding? And what's your mask? And that's why I'm wearing this mask. This is a podcast that is quite close to my heart. And yes, this podcast is all about marriage, but for us to be in a marriage that is empowered, that is honest, that is connected, that is committed, you need to be coming from a authentic place inside of you. And so today I'm going to be talking about what we hide behind, these masks. So this is very symbolic, this mask, of what we hide behind. So many of us do. And this podcast is all about, I suppose, for you to ask yourself some questions as to what do I hide behind. I'm actually going to take it off for now, but I think it's really good representation of what I want to talk about. Beautiful mask, isn't it? Gorgeous. Anyway, I feel like I can breathe now. I actually feel lighter. And isn't that interesting? Because that's what masks do. Sometimes what we do to feel loved, to feel included, to feel like we belong, we create masks. And a fair bit of the time, it is not intentional. I'm going to talk from my own personal point of view to really put a slant on it for you to perhaps explore in yourself. Okay, what masks do I wear? As a masked person, we adjust ourselves. So this is podcast 69, and are you hiding? And what's your mask? And as a masked person, we adjust ourselves depending on who we are talking to. And we wear different masks for different people. You act according to what is going to be received from out there because it is too painful for you to be authentic. So where has this come from? Because to be in an empowered marriage, this is not going to support you for a close, connected, passionate marriage. So for myself, if I go back, and for all of you, that will be what is needed, is our masks form when we are little. So for anybody who's listening to this who's adopted, you'll really understand what I'm talking about. When we're adopted, we look out, and I'm going to bring it back to me. I was adopted at birth, and so I was adopted into a family, of course, with strangers. I don't know these people. And yes, it is all pre-verbal. But what begins to happen is from a very, very young age, I began to adjust myself according to what was in my outside world. Now, I was adopted by English parents who were, how shall I put it, quite introverted and quite, let's put it bluntly, very, very different to me. And so here I am, I'm looking outside of myself, adjusting myself to be loved by my parents. And in my family, there was actually a number of us who were adopted, actually 7 in total, who were adopted from all countries around the world. And so for me being adopted, I looked outside of myself, and there was nobody who looked like me, acted like me, had curly hair like me. And so what did I do? I adjusted myself to be loved. And that's where the pleaser was formed. Because if I do this, I'll get a little bit of love. And if I do this, I will get some more love. And so they were masks, and they were created from a really, really young age. And for a lot of people that I work with, individuals and couples, masks. So what happens is we start living from the wounded self, the self that we created to receive a sense of belonging. and that feeling of being loved and being accepted. Okay, fast forward to present day. That is going to result in a number of things. You can, actually, I'm going to bring it back to myself again. For me, I felt empty. As into my 30s, I felt very empty because I felt like a bit like a fraud. I felt like I had created this person, but I didn't feel connected. I didn't feel embodied into my body. I was living from the head up, and I had fabulous masks. Anybody looking in, oh, she's got it together. Little did they know, I did not have it together. And right up to this day, I have to constantly be aware of the masks that can come in. You know, this beautiful mask, isn't it pretty? It is such a gorgeous mask. However, for me, hiding behind this mask is the victim, the pleaser, what's another one? They're the main masks. I would have described myself, I remember years ago when I was training, I did training in holistic counselling, and there was this particular exercise and we were in the room and it was all around masks, and we were named, and I was named the chameleon. Rightly so, brilliant at masking depending on who was in front of me. If I felt safe with who I was in front of, I could let more of me out. But if I felt unsafe, if I felt like I could be judged or be rejected, then I would modify myself. I would tone myself down. As a child, I lived quite differently. So in the family, I was sort of quite quiet, very selective of how I was. And then I remember as a teenager, I worked in a garden centre, and I was very loud and very boisterous. I had this pendulum of swinging chameleon depending on who I was with. And so for me, where I'm at now, I want to be as authentic as I possibly can be. And today's podcast is very much about what I'm hiding behind. And what are you hiding behind? I can hide behind that I've got it all together. I can hide behind that I'm coming from an authentic place. I'm hiding behind, you know what? I've got it sorted. Well, you know what? I'll let you know that a lot of the time I don't. Some of the time I do, but a lot of the time I don't. I'm still working through the wounded parts of me, the parts of me that I haven't fully embodied because I've lived the bulk of my life in fight and flight, and that feeling of feeling unsafe, so very heightened. So I am constantly checking in about how authentic am I really being. And so for me, sharing a bit more of my inner world, because also as a therapist, it's a very fine line between how much you actually share of your inner world and how much do you keep it to yourself. And I think we're all fellow travellers on this path of life, and so it's being real. And so yes, I hide behind masks at times. However, I am trying so hard. Actually, that's the wrong word. I am trying to be more authentic. So I'm now going to talk about the different masks. So one big mask that I see is a martyr. So a martyr is you self-sacrifice. And if you're in a marriage, you're good for everybody else, but you've actually got nothing left for yourself. You're very much a martyr. You can end up with, a fair bit of stress and a lot of fatigue because you're always out there. You sacrifice for others. You will know people in your world who are martyrs. Another mask can be the detached or the recluse type of person. That mask is you have a fear of rejection. And so I am going to put on the mask of the recluse or the detached, but it is actually, there'll be much more deeper things going on. The next one is pleaser. That's my top one. And as pleasers, sometimes not very good at saying no. That's something that's not helpful. When we're a pleaser, we, gosh, how does a pleaser play out? Well, you put everybody else before yourself. You're constantly pleasing. You're always out there for your validation. Again, that started when you were little. That's where it formed for me, because I was constantly looking out there for love and approval. But the key to live from the authentic self is to be able to get the love and approval from yourself first. Easier said than done, I will say, but it's when you are conscious of it, you can begin to start to unpack the patterns and the conditioning that will bring to your attention when you're doing that. And for me, it's constant. I've got to constantly be checking in with that. So another mask is the self-righteous person, the person who's got to be right no matter what. There isn't about being right or happy. The self-righteous person, they have to be right at all costs. And if not, you feel unloved. And the self-righteous person, that feeling unloved, you will be right at any cost. So that's a tough one. That's not a great mask. Another another mask is the bragger. So if you're a bragger, you're constantly showing off and needing recognition. Yes, I can put my hand up for that. Not a something that I'm proud of at all. It's like, look at me, and needing that recognition from out there. And you know what? It isn't even about anybody else. It's about being able to bring it back to yourself and being able to give that to yourself. Okay, another mask is the rescuer. You are constantly attracted to people who seek your support and need your help. And you may get into relationships. You may be in a marriage because you are rescuing your partner. You know, the damsel in distress, or you could be the knight in shining armor. Not a great platform and not a great strong foundation for a marriage or relationship moving forward. When you are a rescuer, again, you are constantly living out there. Look, all I'm doing is bringing to attention the different masks. And your work will be to sort of ask yourself those questions when you get off listening from this, as to what masks that you have, where have they come from, and what am I going to begin doing about these masks. So another mask is the judge. If you are a judge, you spend time judging everyone around you, and you can nitpick, and it's very toxic, it's very draining, and it's very exhausting. And however, when you are being the judge, you then do not have to step into the parts of you that are wounded or are feeling unloved, because you can be out there in everybody else's business and judge away. So there are a few masks. There are many, many more. And you may have some of your own that you're sitting there going, oh, I've got this mask. So what's the point of masks? Why do we create masks? So masks are a way to avoid checking in with ourselves. They are a way of, if we're always out there, we don't have to come home to ourselves. So how does this play out in a marriage? If you are in a relationship, if you are in a marriage, so say your partner is very masked, you can feel it energetically. You actually don't fully know what your partner's inner world is about. You've got no idea. You can make assumptions. You may use assertive communication to find out about their inner worlds, But if you sense that they have masks, or another way people see it is energetically, they can feel this bit of a barrier or a block or concrete, or there's just layers. You can't actually get to your partner. It's extremely hard when you're with someone like that, because you don't know if they're telling the truth. You don't know if they're saying things just to agree with you. You don't know if they've actually repressed, they've shut down from you. I often not often, that is such an over exaggeration. I get people who come in, who they sit in my room. This is an individual who was in a marriage, and they go, I had no idea that my partner was feeling like this. Out of the blue, my partner's just told me that they no longer want to be married to me. And I asked the questions, was there any warning signs? Did you have great assertive communication? Did you share your inner worlds? And for some people, yes, I felt that we did. However, if you are with someone who has had masks from the moment that you have been together, you aren't going to know, are you? You're not going to know if that person is being truly authentic, which can be extremely confronting, particularly in a long-term relationship, a long-term marriage, where perhaps the spark's gone, you don't have a lot in common anymore, and you're feeling like mates, like flatmates, because I see that a lot in my room. So, if you're listening to this and it's stirring some questions up in you, I encourage you to seek out a therapist, a coach, somebody who does kinesiology, somebody who is going to be able to support you to get to the wounded self, that part of you that you created to be able to function in your world, and generally it's from a child, to function in this world so that you could feel loved. And you may have got to this point because you're not feeling authentic. You're feeling like you've lost your identity. You don't know who you are anymore. Perhaps you've lost your passion. You've lost your interest in the marriage. You're unmotivated. There's just no inspiration. You've lost your spark. You've lost your mojo. It could be coming through in many, many different ways. But are you in hiding? And if you are in hiding, what's your mask? And when you've identified that, fantastic. That is a really, really great place to start. Don't sit in overwhelm or in just stagnation, because that's not going to change anything. It's okay. Let's start creating some movement as to what I can begin moving forward. Because in an empowered marriage, we want connection, we want closeness, and we want passion. And we've got to have that within ourselves first. We have to have connection with our authentic self. We have to have closeness within ourselves, and we have to have passion within ourselves. And if we can have that within ourselves, we can then bring that into our marriage. So I really hope this has been helpful. Again, I've run out of time. The clock is ticking. So my name is Helen Harrison, and you can find me, just go on to Power of Change. That's one of my websites, powerofchange.com.au. I'm actually in the process of rebranding, so that's extremely exciting. I've got a new website coming very soon called Helen Harrison. I've also got some exciting packages coming in on the horizon, and also this brilliant program that I've created for couples. It's a 6-week program. I will talk more about that, and it's a great, it's self-paced. However, there are Zoom group calls, which is really, really exciting. That really floats my boat. Anyway, I'm going to what am I going to do? I'm going to finish up. You've been listening to the Empowered Marriage podcast. I really hope that you've got something from this. Share this with your friends, share this with your family. Love you to do a review. I haven't actually encouraged that. I've been told that I need to do that. So go on to iTunes, do a review. And what this will do will encourage other people to start asking themselves questions and start creating an empowered marriage. So have a great week, and I will see you on the next podcast very soon. And enjoy living your empowered life in your empowered marriage.